And as you came out of Shaw's, it just went pop. When you've got Mark Walker and Julian Mazoub coming at you from absolutely nowhere, and they like warp speed. Yeah, but it's just brilliant, brilliant experience. Yes, you should have a ladies' race. And imagine everyone going, what? And I said, yeah, I'll organise that. But again, it was one of those events that just to finish was massive.
Welcome to Vintage Velocity, the podcast from the Vintage Sports Car Club. I'm Laura Plattman, and today I'm here with Gillian Carr. Hello.
Good morning, Laura. Great to see you here.
Gillian, you are an all-round speed queen. That's what I think you are. And I asked you for a list of all the cars and races and competitions you've driven in. You gave me this list, and I started reading through, and I got completely exhausted. I thought, whoa, I didn't realise that you'd race.
No, I don't think I had either, actually. It was a good exercise to do.
And hopefully it's in sort of chronological order. So I do want to begin with, how did you get into vintage motor racing? What was your garage like at home with your family when you were growing up?
Yeah, so like so many, you've got my dad to thank for it. So he had lots of Citroen Light 15s. That's how he started off, but he'd always wanted a vintage car. So from before I can even remember, there was always bits of Citroens everywhere and whatever. And he had been a Vintage Sports Car Club member for a very long time before he got a pre-war car. So I can remember going to Cadwell Park when I was about 7 years old. And then we would go off to Shelsley, Prescott, all sorts of places just to watch, and starts being absorbed. And then he was fortunate enough to find himself in a position to buy the 3 litre that we're sat next to in the mid-90s. And then off it went, really. So as a sort of juxtaposition to all the pre-war enthusiasm, I grew up in a household where everything stopped on a Sunday to watch Formula One. So, but I'm talking about, all the amazing days with Nigel Mansell and Alan Prost. And so I guess the motorsport bug sort of came from there. And then when Dad had that car, he was off doing lots of things. And I was like, I really got into modern motorsport as well. So I used to save up all my babysitting money, and we'd blag someone at school's dad to drive us down to Silverstone, and we'd be going to the Grand Prix when we were like 14, 15. And then when we all got our driving tests, we'd be going off all over the place. So yeah, it's kind of sort of a rich pattern. And then I ended up at the Vintage Sports Car Club because the newsletter plopped through the doormat just as I'd finished university and had no clue what I was going to be. Well, I did sort of know what I should have been doing for a career, but when you've just finished 4 years at uni, you don't really want to do that, do you? And I had grand aspirations of going off to do a ski season, and Dad said, I think you ought to apply for that job. So ended up having an interview with Julian Go, and sort of here we are, as it were. But yeah, the VSCC, I say, like so many, has always just been the corner pin of all sorts of other motorsport and car things going on.
Now, going into some cars, we're sitting beside the Chummy here, which you were telling me earlier is you bought in a box of bits.
Yeah.
And you found out that as you were building it, it was all, and you were going to go use it for trialing, but as you were building it, you realised it was too good for trialing because all the numbers matched and it worked. So the car that you do use for trialing is the remains of this car sort of thing, plus all other bits and pieces.
Yeah, it was amazing. This all came in boxes, and it came from a deceased estate in Coventry, and there was the logbook with all this stuff, and it was like, like Willy Wonka's golden ticket. So Dad started putting it all together and was like, actually, it's too nice a car to be thrapping up trials hills. I'd been to a couple of trials. My first ever trial was with Hickey Hickling in the Dodge. So Christ knows why I wanted to pursue this career as a driving in trials, because that was quite an experience, God bless him. And so, yeah, there was enough parts amassed from building this to build another little trials car.
And so that's what you're still trialling today?
Yeah, I've been very lucky. I spent a big chunk of time, used to trial with Tim Dutton all the time in his Model A Ford. I think we did about sort of 10, 15 years together in that car, which was great because that was still when Jim Diffie was out trialling in the Brescia, and that was really heady days. And then I have also been, I feel so lucky because when I met Julian, he was Julian Go. He, was like this legend of trials driving in the 70s and 80s with the Vauxhalls. But at that time, he didn't have a trials car, and we kind of convinced him that he ought to get back into it, and he built Super G. So we did loads and loads of trials with his Vauxhall 3098, and he's been amazingly generous and lent me Super G quite a bit to drive in trials, which has just been epic. So in between, Super G doesn't suit all of the trials because it's a big car, and so I perhaps take my Austin up to the lakes or whatever. So
now on your list here, you had a Singer Le Mans for hill climbing.
Yeah.
And then you were also fortunate enough to drive some other Works Le Mans cars for some enthusiasts from Birmingham who didn't want to do the trials.
Yeah, so these was just for hill climbing and racing. So I just got my sort of, got my hill climb license, and I'd done Prescott in a little MG M-Type, did Prescott and Lowton, and then we bought this little Singer Le Mans, and if anyone who's driven a Singer knows, they're very aesthetically pretty little cars, but they haven't got much go. They're quite heavy body, quite slow little cars, but I had a load of fun with that. And then we met some people from Birmingham, the Gibsons, and they had quite a few Singers. So we had quite a lot of fun really getting all these cars out. And so it was, I forgot the prefix on the number plate, but it was Bab. It was quite a famous car, 1.5 litre team car. So that was a really fun time.
And then now it says here Chevrolet Camaro.
So
that's a bit of a different thing.
Yeah, and this is all because the VSCC Pomeroy Trophy, which I think a lot of people get their race licence. Right, we'll go and do the Pom. That'll be a nice, easy thing to do. So my brother and I had actually done our race licence on the same day, right at the beginning of February at Silverstone. And it was like, I've got it. I can actually go racing and
competing at the Pom, rather. It's competing, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. That's right. Yeah, and Dean Butler, who I was good friends with at the time, just said, "Well, why don't you take the Camaro?" So I've never driven in a race before, and then I'm in this insane 4 litre Z28 Camaro doing the Pom, and it snowed. So there's a brilliant picture of me.
And that was your first race? Your first competing?
Well,
first time
Pom,
competing?
Yeah. So that was quite hairy. I'd like to have a go in that car again. That was a mega car, that was.
Now, talking about Dean Butler, he also had an MG NA.
Yeah.
Which you told me a moment ago was Dorian Evans' car.
Yeah.
And for those of you that know me, I could go off for 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week telling you all about these women from the 30s and 40s. And then I've sort of known Gillian has also liked these women from historic times. But let's do just a brief bit, because we've only got about 45 minutes. So if we can just do a brief bit about how wonderful these women were whilst we're at this sort of time of the MGNA.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of, I'm in awe of your knowledge of that period of time, because I just find it fascinating that what these women were driving and the type of events that they were doing in a time that couldn't have been more different to now. People like to say that now that opportunities for women in sports and motorsports are difficult, but can you imagine what it was like then? 80 years ago and before. So Elizabeth Unick going off and doing the Targa Florio, and Helenice, and my sister lived near Brooklyn, so we used to spend a lot of time there when we were kids, going to see stuff. And so anything to do with the Brooklands ladies was of real interest, because how they drove around on that banking and did what they did.
With those large Delages
Yeah,
and speed record cars and
that was, imagine what those cars must have been like, space rockets. You know, they were like nothing that had ever existed before. I just find it really hard to sort of contemplate what it was that they were just jumping in stuff and doing all these, you know, the double 12 races and everything. So yeah, Dean had this lovely little MG NA that was a Dorian Evans car with, you know, the bright blue with the white stripe down it. So I drove that in the high speed trial, and we actually did the Measham Rally in that car as well. I've never done it again. Need a car with a roof to do it again, I think. But that was such a great car, and it definitely sparked a bit of inspiration for finding out more about those kind of ladies.
Because Dorian Evans was part of the Dancing Daughters, George Easton's Dancing Daughters, that raced in 34 and 35 Le Mans with Kay Peter and Barbara Simpson. Obviously, Dorothy Champney raced in a Riley opposite. So that race in 34, there were 35, there was 15 women racing.
Wow.
We're recording this in June, and we've just had Le Mans 24 hours. There was only about 7 women this year. We had 2 female teams and then other women scattered throughout. But can you imagine all women teams in 1935?
Absolutely amazing, isn't it? Really is.
And they had to be their own mechanics as well. They had to take the tools on board with them, because they weren't allowed to have a mechanic with them. So they could have to take tools on board with them so they could get back to the pit lane if there was any issues. And we ought to move on, otherwise we could get stuck here.
Definitely could, yeah.
Get stuck here for a bit. I want to move on a little bit. I'm going to try and get through all these, but there's a few that I want to stop at. Now we've got here John Bryden's CGV.
Yeah, so
tell me about that, because I don't understand.
I grew up in Nottinghamshire, and for some of the older viewers and listeners, there was a famous sort of group in the VSCC called the Nottingham Mafia, and they all had Edwardians, and they kind of really got the whole Edwardian scene going, because it wasn't like it is now. You didn't have the SF Edge at Goodwood and stuff. There was just a few things to do. So there was Dick Badley, after whom the race is named at Mallory Park, but they would get all their Edwardians and they'd go all over Europe and do really cool things, like go down to Angoulême and do all sorts of mad rallies and trips with a lot of tomfoolery involved, from I believe. And so John Bryden and Richard Black and some of the other guys in the Nottingham Mafia were always keen, let's get a full grid at Mallory for the Dick Badley Trophy. And so I guess Richard engineered it with John. John had got the CGV, sat in the garage, and just get a phone call, do you want to drive this? Well, I'll just never forget that. What a car. It was absolutely mad. And so I drove John's Lorraine Dietrich, which we'll move on to in a bit, talking about the Sicily trip. And the CGV was one of my hairiest racing moments, because it had a wooden wheel, and as you came out of Shores it just went pop. So there's quite a great photo of me still trying to commit to the turn, and there's like little bits of firewood all over the track. But anyway, that sort of started the whole Edwardian obsession with me, and I've been very, very fortunate, because I've never owned an Edwardian car. All that gang have just been so kind over the years, and to like lots of other people, in just getting the cars out and getting them being used.
So we do move on to the Lorraine Dietrich, but are you saying that you took the Lorraine Dietrich to Sicily?
Yes.
And not a Dave Biggins Nazaro?
No, so Dave Biggins had the inspiration he wanted to create this Targa Florio film.
Now underneath your chair is a video, if you can show it to the camera. This Sicilian Dream with Alan de Cadenet.
And Francesco de Mosta.
Oh, and Francesco de Mosta from Italy,
so
of course.
David had a vision to put a proper film together about the history of the Targa Florio, the early days, for a very long time. And David, who's very sadly no longer with us, you know, there's a picture of him on the back in the Nazaro. which I drove once for him at Mallory.
Oh, I'm there. Just trying to find the camera.
Yeah. So he got all the funding together, and he got DeCAD lined up.
And my friend Philip Walsh was the director for it.
Ah, yes, Philip. He's a great guy. Yeah. Anyway, and we were sort of 2 weeks off to Sicily, and John Bryden at the time was the chairman of Nottinghamshire County Cricket, and he couldn't give up that much time to go away. So you have to pinch yourself, and you get these phone calls. Would you like to go to Sicily for 2 weeks? All you have to do is fly there, meet the car off the boat. And so that was, the Lorraine Dietrich took out to do that film. And that was just the most epic 2 weeks, all thanks to David.
And that was released in 2017, that film.
Yeah, so we had some really, we had to dress up as, like Edwardian type characters. I'm afraid I can't remember the name of the lady racer that I was portraying, because it wasn't Elizabeth Unit, it was somebody else. But we were sort of doing period filming, but we were out every day in 30-degree heat, driving various stages of the Targa course. It was I'll never forget that whole adventure. It was amazing.
So going back to the Targa Florio and Elizabeth Junek, she was the first person to chalk the corners. So every time there was a corner, she would chalk it so she knew where the corners were. So when she got to a corner, she could just get past it. She was called the queen of the steering wheel. And she, in her first year, chalked the corners, and she just was so fast. And the next year, 12 other drivers copied what she did and also chalked the corners. So I don't know if there's any remnants of a bit of white chalk on bits of stone now, but that's what happened when she went round.
Yeah.
That was a different lady racer to the one you were presenting. Should we move on a little bit? We have got who have we got now? Dave Barker and a Delage.
Yeah, that was so David was part of that little gang. So he had a really cute little I think it was about 2 litre little Delage that I drove once in that in the Dick Badley Trophy at Mallory.
I've missed a bit, which I think is important, because you're passionate about it, your Edwardians. So Alistair Lockhart Vauxhall AD type winning at Donington.
So Alistair lives in the Scottish borders, and but he had a Prince Henry, and he had the AD type. So he very kindly wants it used, but obviously can't keep hauling it up and down from Scotland. So he used to bring it down, and we'd do the POM, and then I'd keep it for the year and go off and hill climb it and do various things. And it was a brilliant car, and we had a great time. Alistair's a fantastic supporter of all things vintage and wants things out and being used. And Becky Smith drove it a bit as well, so it was good to get the girls out in it. And the Edwardian race that year was at Donington, and somehow it's the only race I've ever won. And I can remember Hughie Walker like chasing me down. I was like, no. I think I beat Hughie by about 4 seconds or something on the line. So that was brilliant. But we had a lot of fun with that car. We did some really cool stuff with it. So very grateful.
Is that the car I see you with now as well?
No, that would be Super G and the Vauxhall.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because Alistair sold the car. But you did used to see it here, because I used to keep it here, and I used to drive it around quite a lot. It was a well-used machine, that was. It was a great car.
Now, Rudolf Ernst Stutz.
Yeah, so Rudolf, a great German guy and a huge enthusiast of unusual cars, and he bought a Stutz, and it was just when the members meeting had started, and it was one of the first SF Edge races. So it was really cool. So it was my first ever time that I got to race at Goodwood. Unfortunately, the car was a bit naughty, and it broke down. So the race didn't quite go so well. But
what a good experience!
Yeah, just amazing.
I mean, the grid must have been amazing.
Yeah, and amazing to do Goodwood, and then I was really lucky to do it again this year. So going back to what I was saying about John Bryan and the Nottingham Mafia, one of those very first cars that I drove was an American car, a recreation of a Vanderbilt Cup car from 1912 that belonged to David White. And I drove that when I was about 24, 25 or something.
Crikey.
And it was a real simple, fun car to drive. And then totally out of the blue, got to get back in it last year. And it was 18 years since I'd first driven it. So I drove it at Mallory last year. And then David said, well, see if you can get an entry for the members meeting this year. So we just did. So we've just had, that was absolutely brilliant to get that car down there and to actually do the SF Edge, because the first time I'd done it, we didn't actually perform.
How did you do this year?
So yeah, my aim was to not be last, because you've got all the aero-engined specials and a lot of big, I'm not making excuses, but a load of big quick things out there, and it is probably one of the more underpowered and slower cars. And so on aggregate, I finished 4th from last. So I was very chuffed.
Yes, you won.
Yeah. In fact, I had a brilliant race. I've forgotten the guy's name, but it's one of Walter Heel's customers in Brescia. And we had, honestly, it was mega. Like, changed, swapping places about 6 times during the race. Really good fun.
And it's tricky around Goodwood because there's not that many places where you can.
It's tricky when you've got Mark Walker and Julian Mazoub coming at you from absolutely nowhere, and they like warp speed. Yeah, but it's just brilliant, brilliant experience.
Having your own race is really good. Now you had a ladies only race with the VSCC, and Richard Black loaned you a Talbot Largo.
Yeah, so it was when I worked for the club, and it was a VSCC AGM, and I think it was Richard, and he stood up and he said, VSCC should have a ladies race. And imagine everyone going, what? And I said, yeah, I'll organise that. And it was brilliant. We had about 6 ladies took their licences just for that race. And it was brilliant. People were lending cars out left, right and centre. And we ended up with 18 girls out on the grid at Donington. And a lot of them carried, so Neve Wood, she borrowed my really crappy, scrappy trials car, my little Riley 12.4 that I had. And Neve is still racing now, and she's racing some seriously cool stuff. She's done Monaco Historic in a Cooper Bristol, and she's racing a Lotus Elan, and it's just brilliant. That was one of her first races, and yeah, lots has come out of that. We ought to do it again, I think, really.
I have a race licence, and I'm still on my signatures because I haven't actually raced at all for the past few years. So I would like to do something like that and get myself onto a racetrack and compete a bit.
And I think there's many more ladies regularly competing with the VSCC now than there was like 10, 15 years ago as well. So I drove, Richard had a absolutely beautiful black Talbot Largo that is now owned by Max Sowerby, and he very generously lent me that for the race. And I came 6th. It was great, a really good battle with Josephine Shoesmith. It was fun, very memorable.
I think we need to do that again. Now we've got an Eddie Maguire Cooper Bristol.
So in reciprocation, I mean, how ridiculous is this? Because I'd lent his daughter Neve my very manky trials car, he said, and anyone knows Eddie, he's got this amazing Irish lilt, he says, I need to repay the favour. And he says, you drive my Cooper Bristol. I was like, oh, that's not quite the same as a very tatty Riley. So it was one of the last VSCC Reds, and wow, what a day that was. Absolutely amazing. Just it was the first time I'd ever driven a car that was like looked after by a team. It was all very surreal because just walked along, got in it, someone did your belts up,
and it all worked.
And it was incredible. And I was out racing with a lot of heroes, and just remember that car was just so easy to drive and fun. And it's great now because Steph Wilton's out regularly racing Cooper Bristol too. Yes. So I like seeing the girls out in Cooper Bristols. That was a really fun day.
We've got here now Bentleys. We've got the Mazoub.
Yeah, so
4.5.
the Bentley Drivers Club were putting on like a bit of a special race. I can't remember what the commemoration was of now. And Julian has got a Keston Pelmore car, 4.5
Keston
litre.
Pelmore, that's it.
You have to try and say that after a couple of gins.
Keston Pelmore.
This Keston Pelmore. So obviously I've driven that car a little bit, and I think that was my first race in a Bentley. It was really fun. And then, yeah, do we start the ball rolling now on the whole Bentley?
Yeah,
thing?
Because our good friend Katarina Kyvalova and yourself went and did the Benjafield 24 at Portimão.
Yeah, so she phoned the Vintage Sports Car Club because she wanted to put a ladies' team into the Benjafield's 24-hour race that they held at Portimão in 2014. And I don't know who it was at the VCC, but I owe them a drink. And they said, oh, well, you ought to speak to Gillian. She knows how to drive Bentleys. And so, yeah, another one of those very surreal emails. Fancy doing that? Yeah, please. Great. And so Georgie Brewster, she was on the team, and I'd known Georgie for a million years as well because she was a sort of VSCC girl. And for some reason, they were all having a sort of get together in London that I couldn't go to. So I actually went out to Portimão, having never met Katarina.
Wow.
So she took quite a fly, didn't she? And so we did the 24-hour race in her 3.5, and that was.
How did you get on?
That was an amazing weekend. So William Metcalf was his mantra to help everybody through it was just to concentrate on smooth driving and reliability, because if you're going to rag it for 24 hours, it's not going to happen. So he basically was teaching us to go around Portimão in top gear the whole time, and thinking, that's not going to work. And I can remember on a couple of laps thinking, nah, he's got this all wrong, and changing for third on a few corners. And then when you looked at the lap times, you were actually like way slower. So his theory worked. And yeah, we finished, I think there was 24 cars, and we finished 14th.
Good.
But again, it was one of those events that just to finish was massive.
And how many in the team? 3 of you or 4?
Yes, there was, sorry, I missed out. There was 2 Georgies. So there was Georgie Riley, Georgie Brewster, or who's now Georgie Bradfield, Katarina, and myself.
Right. So.
And that's where, yeah, probably then over a drink, the Bentley Belles name came, and Katarina.
And you pop up every now and then to do different races. So you went to Spa next.
Yeah,
right?
well, Katarina had just started racing. Her background was rallying. And so she got this gorgeous Bentley, and had started doing a few bits and bobs with it. But she really wanted to start doing proper historic racing. And I have been going out to Spa for the 6 hours for since about 2000, 20 years, 2004. And going out and helping teams and just being there and thinking, oh my God, this is the epitome, we've got to do this. And so Kat said, well, why don't we do the Spa 6 hours? It's like, wow, epic. So she'd got an Austin Healey, which ironically, a lot of these cars sort of all go round in full circle, because that Healey she had actually belonged to Dean Butler's brother back in the day, and I'd gone out to Spain on a rally with that car. So there comes, I know you, AV. Yeah, so we did the Spa 6 hours, but you can only have 3 on a team. So Georgie Riley was our team manager, and then there was Georgie Bradfield, myself, and Kat shared the car. And what a box to tick to actually do the Spa 6 hours, and completed it, and finished third in class.
And an all-girls team.
And we were the first ever all-girls team to do the Spa 6 hours.
Oh, right.
Which
Nice.
I think the Spa 6 hours, I think, started in 2001. And this was 2014, I think, or 15.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you going to do it again?
I'd love to, but it's, the whole dynamic of the race has changed a bit now. It used to be very much like, gang of mates, save up for ages, do it in an MGB, and that's sort of how we did it. if you look at the Spa 6 Hour grid, I think when we did it, there were 6 GT40s in the race. Now there's like 20.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a different dynamic now, and I'm not so sure that well, I'd love to do it again, but we'll see. We'll see.
Of course, we've got the Healey, which we're talking about now. Portuguese chap in
Miguel.
MGB.
Yeah. So So after we raced the Healey quite a bit with Kat, which was great. I'm very grateful to her for that opportunity because it was wonderful. And of course, now Kat pops up all over the world doing some magnificent events and racing her E-Type with a lot of success, which is brilliant. And but I'm sort of probably more of a club level type driver. And Miguel is a friend of Carol Spaggs, who Historic Motor Racing News, legendary driver herself. And so she introduced me to Miguel, and he had an MGB, and we had a load of fun for a couple of seasons, taking it off to Europe to like race in the GT and Sports Car Cup, Vanessa and Flavien Marseille's race, and really cool. My friends just bought that car, so it's back out racing. So I'm going to see him race it this summer.
Now we have the Fraser Nash Super Sports Charlie Gillett.
Yeah, so sort of slipping back into the pre-war era. Charlie Gillett, who's a complete legend of the club, he let me borrow his Super Sports a couple of times. So we had some very memorable adventures in that car. One particular one, we did the Motor Racing Legends Mad Jack race at Donington, and I can just remember him coming in at the pit stop, and he said, typical Charlie, I've lost most of my gears. Okay. And you had like a panel in the Fraser Nash that it was like a wooden board with the seats. And there's just this amazing photograph with our very much missed Henry Hope Frost, the commentator.
Oh.
And we're all splitting our sides. And my friend stood there with whip these seats out. Charlie's looking at this mangled mess of chains. And I'm going, oh my God, I've got to go out in this now. And it sort of gets lashed together, and I set out, and I think I had maybe 4th gear and 2nd or something extraordinary. We got it round for a few laps, but that car was really cool. I raced it at Mallory Park as well.
So the Fraser Nash with all the chains, and the Bentley with all the different, the brake, the pedals are different.
Centre clutch on those,
centre clutch.
Sorry, not clutch, throttle, centre throttle.
And the Healey and the Vauxhall. I'm completely and wonderfully bamboozled by the amount of different cars that you've adapted to. You just get in and someone says, oh, you should drive this. You can drive this. I'll lend this to you. You'll be okay with this. You can just drive this. It was
quite funny because I'd always really wanted to race post-war stuff with a roof and a roll cage. So it was amazing to get to drive like the Healey and the MGBs and those sort of things. But I can remember it took quite a bit to stop driving them like a pre-war car and having being out with Martin O'Connell used to try and get me sharpened up for races. He's like, you're braking so early. Why are you braking so early and then changing gear before you even got through the corner? It's like, oh yeah, those things, yeah.
Different car. Now we've the Andy D Crown Stingray.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah, we were at Silverstone in November, and he had this amazing Corvette Stingray. He's like, do you want to go? It's like, yeah, that was epic. And then went out and it rained quite heavily, which was quite exciting. But that was, I think that's probably on the far end of wild beasts. The Camaro and that Stingray, they were right up there. Just want to have a go in a Galaxy now.
We know who's got the Galaxy. Okay, so we have here the Festival of Speed Goodwood 2013 soapbox race.
Yeah, so that was, I think it would have been one of the 10-year anniversaries, so perhaps the 30th anniversary of the Festival of Speed. I lose track. And when I'd first joined the Vintage Sports Car Club, Julian headed up the VCC team to do the Soapbox Challenge. And Tim Gunn from, that's on the repair shop now, the bicycle guru,
Okay.
he'd built the first couple of VCC soapboxes, some really, really, really cool things. He built like a mini recreation of Spider, the famous Shelsley GN. And then we built like a little mini ERA to do it. But obviously you've got teams from all the big manufacturers and ProDrive put in cars and some of the motorsport universities. So it was quite a big deal. But you're obviously going down Goodwood in reverse. So you've got to go the scary flint wall that everyone craps himself about going up on the left.
Down it on the right.
Down, and so you've got all the kinks and bumps, and it was quite hairy. Anyway, we got invited back because they'd actually stopped doing the soapbox race because it was so dangerous. And so then we got an entry. So we got Spider out of the shed and gave her a bit of a fettle up. I can't remember how I ended up driving it. Obviously, no one else wanted to. We got another VSCC one out that Julian had built years before, and Ben Mather drove that, and George Diffie was out in one that his dad had built. Anyway, I'd unfortunately had quite a major horse accident about 3 months before, and I'd managed to bust my entire rib cage. But there was no way I was missing out on this opportunity. But that was just such a memorable weekend because I think we had like 15 soapboxes up, and I'm going down the hill at Goodwood with a smashed up rib cage going, what the hell are you doing? And those soapbox events at Goodwood were amazing, but they're sadly no more. I should think Elf and Safety's kicked that one on the into touch, unfortunately.
Do they actually have any brakes?
Well, you had to.
In theory.
But you had to be very, very light because if you got on the brake too much, it would just snap back on you. So it was just a tender touch, perhaps less than you would have wanted.
I'm just thinking of that flint wall because it's quite a sharp right.
Yeah,
isn't it,
and it's so bumpy, unbelievably bumpy. The course.
And how was your body afterwards?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, good. I think everybody went to the bar pretty soon after we'd done all that. But yeah, that was a mega time at the Festival of Speed.
Now we've got another mega time at Goodwood with the 2019 Bentley Centenary.
Yeah, so Goodwood, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Bentley, decided to put on an all Bentley race.
I saw that, and that was an epic race. It was jaw-dropping, and it was awe-inspiring, and we all had tears in our eyes because it was such a phenomenal race. Yeah,
you have to sort of pinch yourself really about what we all did. I think, was there nearly 30 cars, and I was so lucky that we got the 3 litre in. Obviously that's a bit of a different, it's not a race car compared to a 4.5 or something, but we managed to take that. An amazing, my brother was my mechanic and dad, and Paul Griffin has that's a 24 car. He had a 23 3 litre, and so we actually did have a bit of a race right at the back. That was brilliant. And then we lost Dad 2 years later, so it was just amazing that we'd all got to do that race.
Memory.
Absolutely incredible, yeah.
And I think for everybody watching it, it was so epic.
Yeah, and there's some really stunning photographs of the pits with that whole lineup, all the Bentleys just in one row. It was really something to behold, wasn't it? So let's look forward to the 110th celebration.
Now we have another. Let me just see. It says 2021 Gareth Graham. Brooklands race.
So that was Gareth Graham and Ben Collins out in Prestine, where we have the Welsh Trial. They're great friends of mine and have really, really helped me with Bentley driving. And Ben's been an absolute hero, sharpening my skills up, getting the clutch changes quick and smooth. And unfortunately, Dad was not very well at all, and they had a Brooklands race on the billing at the Revival. And Gareth said, right, this is going to sort you out, because we were going through all the crap with Dad. And he very, very kindly asked me to share his car in that race. So that was I mean, what a thing to do, to take your mind off all that horribleness. So that was just a blooming brilliant weekend. And Gareth's car, he raced it this year at the members meeting. I remember when we did the Centenary Race, that was at the back of the grid and Gareth was on pole. And I was like, what am I doing? Driving a car that's this quick. I don't think I disgraced myself too much, and it rained. But yeah, that was right up there.
I remember that Brooklands race at Goodwood. I'm just trying to think about it now. And
there was Fraser Nash's falling off all over the place. There was an epic battle with Eddie Williams in it. It was raining quite heavily.
Did we have some roofs
We had
up?
roofs up, yes, that's right,
now,
yeah.
What's the deal with the roofs up during the race?
I think that just goes back to the Le Mans tradition.
First 3 laps or something?
Yeah,
No,
because we did that
Please correct me.
at the Benjafield's 24-hour one. You had to start the race with the hood up and then take it down. And we did, then we did it for the Centenary Race. So yeah, hoods up.
Hoods up.
So I've got some brilliant pictures of it, like peeing with rain and the lights on and the hood up on the Bentley, and did the whole race with the hood up. Yeah.
Now we're coming to the end of the list. We have Greg Heacock, Austin Healey Sprite. Tell me about this. This is 22 and 24.
Yeah, so this is another one of these like weird full circle stories. So I've got some friends called the Cleggs, Charlie Clegg, you perhaps know him. And I used to go off when I was like 17 or 18 years old and watch his dad, Chris Clegg. He used to race with the Aston Martin Owners Club, and he had this lovely ex-Patmos Austin Healey Sebring Sprite. And they lived just down the road from me. And anyway, Chris sold the car due to ill health. He wasn't using it anything as much as he used to. And then the other weird slot into this is that Greg Heacock was very good friends with another very much missed friend of mine, Simon Diffie. And they'd raced together quite a bit. And then through Nick Finberg, who looks after Greg, Greg was coming over to race and he wanted someone to share the car with. And Nick and Ollie Crossway, they were tied up with other commitments. They're all friends of Greg's. He said, get Jill's out in the car. And so Greg's just a top bloke and become really good friends. And really lovely to be, flying the flag a bit for Simon, with him. That's quite an honour. But then end up in the car, racing the car that I've been watching since I was like 17 years old.
That is beautiful,
and we took that car to Le Mans in 2012 for the actual, the proper 24-hour, when they were still running the historic support race.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And I'd gone out with the Cleggs, and the 2 kids, India and Charles, had driven the car. And, I was on the pit crew and stuff. So, yeah, you have to sort of, it's funny how these cars come back into your life.
And also the car is your friend. I mean, I remember talking to people at Monaco, all sorts of wonderful, wonderful legends at Monaco. And they said the cars are their friends. It's beautiful seeing these cars again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your old mate coming back. Yeah. And I saw our the Healey that we did the 6-hour in. That was at Goodwood in March for a test day, and it was like,
hello.
just like seeing your old buddy.
Now we've got next year. You've got fingers crossed little emoji here, and it says Chrysler 72.
So. Oh, sorry, that's Rodney chirping into action. Go back to bed,
that's
Rodney. Rodney the cockerel. Just through some sort of connections, hopefully a car it's in build at the moment in America, and the ambition of the owner is to bring it over, and he wants to do Classic Le Mans with it. He's going to drive it on the Mille Miglia. He's got loads of ideas, but anyway, it was supposed to be over for this year, and it's just got a bit delayed with various things. So fingers crossed that car will be arriving in the UK early next year,
and you'll get to play
and we're planning to go and do some VCC races with it, and then eventually because I think the Chryslers did run at Le Mans in the 20s. So yeah, it'll be amazing if that all comes together.
That would be good. Now we've finished your list, and I might be able to start mine. Just have a few. I want to know I would like to know what has been your most memorable race? The one where you think that just ticked. You've mentioned quite a few that's ticked all the boxes, but are there any of them that you just think, yeah, that was just something?
Yeah, probably the Spa 6 hours. I just think because it was such a long, hankering, burning ambition to do it, and never thought I'd ever get to do it. And then the everything about that race is hard, you know, like so. But most of all, that particular year we did it, the weather was just atrocious, and we'd battled on, and we were going into that last hour, and the rain was biblical. And I'd done the sort of daylight into dark stint, and it started raining, and I was just really having to focus to keep it all together, and came in and handed it over to Kat just after 9 o'clock. So she had like the last hour to do. And still to this day, how she kept going in that rain, it was hideous, absolutely hideous. But that race is just, I don't know, you're just defying all odds, really. I think it's such a test of endurance. But that's why I love doing endurance races as well, because it's just that extra element of challenge, keeping it all going for so long.
And also the most wonderful thing about endurance races, it's not over until the flag, because who knows, you know, you might not be in the top, you know, might not be in podium, or but then somebody in the podium could break, so you're already going up, you know, a peg, and who knows what's going to happen to any of the other cars.
Yeah.
So there's always hope. There's always hope in endurance.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, we were just pleased to finish, and then someone came running in and was like, you guys have actually ended up on the podium. And it's like, what?
So you've got to keep going, because you just don't know what's going to happen with endurance. Now, your most memorable moment in all of your racing scenarios, whether it's traveling to and from the pit lane, the actual races, can you think of something that just is highlights of all of your moments?
I think probably the when you can do something that you're enjoying, like with your friends. So it could be just even having finished a trial that has probably rained consistently for 2 days. But I think it's probably, for me, magic moments are just like that satisfaction of achieving like the end of a race or something, but with all your friends and your buddies, that you do this, you only do all this because you make such amazing friends on the way, and sharing all that fun. Now, it's not, to me, like pre-award cars are not a solo pursuit, which is why I like trialing so much, because you're doing things with friends.
It is. It's completely encapsulating with everybody, and I think the VSCC is perfect for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of young people coming into the VCC and women coming in and staying. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, so I just sort of so proud of what the VSCC has achieved, and I think that if you look in the sort of more mainstream of motorsport, I think it's still promoted that there are barriers, or this is all about breaking down barriers to drive as a female or whatever. And I've never experienced that in the VSCC. It's always been an open, welcoming door. I am so lucky that all those amazing people on your list have lent me all these incredible cars. But how great that the club has got so many people that want to see their vehicles out and enjoy. They don't just want them there under a dust sheet. They want people out and encouraging. And I think within the VSCC, it's just such a level playing field. I don't think there's ever been that era of you're not good enough, or everyone's encouraging. But you've only got to look at who's out there now doing it, and there are loads and loads of ladies, particularly trialing, hill climbing and racing. And if you just break down what the VSCC is to a club level motorsport club, it is offering more open doors than I think a lot of other avenues of motorsport.
I think it's a very enviable club. Everyone wants to be a bit like the VSCC, I think.
Well, yeah, you can go out and want one of these. scrape together 10 grand and get yourself one of those, or
And have
look where it
everyone
might
help
lead
you.
to.
Have everyone help you put it together.
Yeah.
We are sitting beside the Chummy, the Bentley, and the Land Rover. And I walked around the Land Rover a moment ago, mentally making a list of all the things that need doing on that Land Rover.
I got in trouble. It's not up to spec.
We need to do stuff with this Land Rover, so I might be getting my hands dirty on this Land Rover because there's quite a lot that I can do on this. We might need to get that
So I've been busy with these.
Trying to get them trialing and hill climbing. Now, we are filming this in June. I don't know when the podcasts are coming out, but they're going to come out this year, of course, 2025. Where will we see you the late summer of June 2025 and the autumn of 2025?
My next track event will be Mallory Park at the end of August. So there's I've entered, I've got my fingers crossed we might get a slot. I've done 2 Longstone light car races with this little chummy. So that's entered. And I've also got the Abbott Detroit in the Dick Badley race, the Edwardian race at Mallory. So I'm really looking forward to that weekend. I'm not sure because I'm quite busy with my day job at Motor Racing Legends, and I run all the motor racing for them. And I normally race with Greg in the Sprite in the Pre-63 GT, but it's a bit manic at work because there's been been a big management change. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a chance to race that or not this year, but we'll see. So anyway, Mallory Park, and then I'll be at the Goodwood for fun, and then Spa. We're going out to Navarra in October.
And then, of course, the winter season.
And then trials. Unfortunately, I can't do the Welsh trial because I'm working, which is really annoying. But my my trials chummy, it's not here at the moment because it's just having some final tweaks after a massive engine rebuild. And I'm going to take a very special lady, actually. I've invited VJ Mallier's partner, Pinky, to come and do the Cotswold trial in October in it.
That would be good.
She's mad keen, so I'm looking forward to that.
Exciting,
yeah.
Exciting. Well, on that exciting news, and I think we'll finish. We've discussed so many cars that you've driven and owns and family cars and where you're off to. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I definitely think, Gillian, you're a speed queen. Thank you so much. I hope you are going to look back at the other episodes that we've produced and the ones that we're producing afterwards. So thank you so much.